Hello, welcome to another training session. Today I will show you how to use StatsViewer, how to configure it, and the data that we can see for our agents. This training is going to happen in WebStation. This is where we can define all of this, and as you can see, we have the option here, StatsViewer. If I expand this, one is the actual stats viewer and the second is the stats viewer configuration. So let's first go into stats viewer. What can we see in stats viewer? Stats viewer is going to allow us to see per agent their amount of calls that they have made on a day or on a time frame, date range, talk time, work time, and so on. And we can also compare this data to a specific agent data group or to the entire management unit. So when we want to configure this, it's always going to ask us about the MU. So here, the first thing that we see is our defaults. It's in seconds and we can have a comparison. So seconds, we can change to seconds with decimals, 2 decimals, minutes and seconds, hours, minutes and seconds. Yeah, and then the comparison, we can say no comparison or difference or a percent of difference. Then what else can we do? We can allow configuration so the agents can enter StatsViewer preferences. They cannot change much, the agents. They can only kind of define their view. That's what we mean on the preferences. And then also allow agents to view details. How much detail do we want them to see? Their own detail and the one for their management unit or agent data groups. Also, we can allow or disallow agents to see MU statistics. So whenever they go in, they will see their data and then they will see a comparison to MU statistics. Yeah, in here we can enable or disable it. It all depends on your organization. Some organizations, they don't want other agents to be able to compare themselves because it might be detrimental. But if you want to allow this, you just have to check this box. Okay, so this is all the data that we are going to see in StatsViewer: inbound contacts, talk time, work time, the total time, average talk time, average work time, average handle time, how many outbound contacts did they have, how much time did they spend on outbound time, and system time. Okay, so as you can see, mine has already been configured, but that's okay. I can show you how we're going to configure this. Yeah, so every time for each of these different items, we can change the settings. These settings, they are not user-based. So when you set this up, this is going to be for the entire management unit or enterprise group. Yeah, some settings, as you know, they are user-based. This one isn't. Okay, once it's set up, it's done for everyone. So in here we have 3 categories. So under threshold, within threshold, or over threshold. Yeah, the threshold is going to be determined by the management unit averages. Okay, so if the agent is under threshold on their inbound contacts, what are we going to mark them with? Yeah, so here I selected red because it's kind of in the red zone. If you don't want to be so harsh, you can have any color. You know, there's a huge palette of colors that you can pick, and you can also add an icon. We don't need the icon, but it just reinforces the picture. Yeah, you can either have the smiley faces or these ones. You cannot have both. Yeah, so if I select the smiley face, the arrow gets deselected. Yeah, and you can only have, of course, one icon per setting. Okay, or you can select I don't want to see an icon. Okay, within threshold, that would be the green area. That's how I define it, a screen. And then if they're over threshold, I've selected another icon, and then we can have the icon. Also, you can define what does it mean under threshold. So when does it start to count under threshold? Is it immediately if it's below the average, or do we want to give them some wiggle room, the same as for the over threshold? Okay, so once we have defined the colors and the icons, we click accept, and then we have defined this. Next time, when we go into the talk, for example, we can go into change settings, and instead of having to remember all of the colors, if we want to do it all the same, the over, under, and within threshold, we can just say copy these settings from. Yeah, so we're copying them from the inbound contacts. And this is a quick way on creating this, configuring this, so the agents have the same colors for everything. Yeah, so it doesn't get confusing. Yeah, so here, as you can see, I have got everything as it, very uniform, all the same colors. I just copied and pasted or changed the settings. Okay, so now I save, and now if we go into StatsViewer, I will find, I select one, I select all agents, yeah, and then I will select my agent here. This agent, we have 53 contacts in total year to date. It's all made up data, I don't have live data. But here we can see, okay, this is the agent, this is talk time, work time, the overall time. This one, we configure it to be all in seconds. Yeah, after talk time, after work time, average handling time, how many outbound contacts did he have, that in seconds, and the system time. System time is how much time the agent has been logged into the system. Okay, and then it compares it to the management unit. Whenever we see a comparison between agents and management unit, it will always, the management unit will have averages. In this instance, I only have one agent, so that's why there is no average. But normally, you will have a comparison on averages. This is the total contact that he has done year to date so far. If we scroll down a little bit, we can see that the contacts are split up in the different queues that he's been answering calls. Yeah, so this one is the RRC queue, then we have calls and strategic and so on. Yeah, so we can see this split here as well. If we wanted to see this better in minutes, yeah, you can just come over here, change it to minutes, and we can also add a comparison. Of course, the comparison here, as you can see, it changes the comparison to the MU because there is no difference between the management unit and this agent. Yeah, it's all the same data. But if we have more agents, of course, this is what it will do. If we don't want to see all agents, and let's say we wanted to see it by also with agent data group, yeah, we can also say let's do it by location. So we do this. Yeah, so here we can see all agents, and then we can see management unit and our location. I'm not sure if my agent is here. Yeah, so he's here. So when we have agent data group and we also select management unit, you will see the comparison between the three. Always this management unit and agent data group are going to be averages. This information comes directly from WFM. And where can we find this? This, if we go into WFM and we go into Operations Manager, under Agent Detail, this is where we can find this, yeah? This is where this information feeds from. This information comes directly from the ACD. We can see it as supervisor in WFM, but then also team leads and the agents will be able to see it in their web station. If we look at this perspective from an agent view, now I logged in as this agent. If we go into his stats viewer, yeah, we can see, okay, here no data available, but if we go into year to date, remember, this is what we set up for the agent so they can see how they compare to the management unit. We allowed them to see that data. And then here, when we talk about changing their preferences, this is what we mean. Those are the only preferences they can change, but they can see how many contacts they have been working on a day and see how they compare to the MU. Okay, I hope you find this useful. StatsViewer, very useful tool. Thank you so much and see you next time.